For Doug Walker. Those are some excellent covers, and let's give it up for our impromptu bongo and shaker. Excellent. Thank you guys. All right, coming up to the stage now is Adam Selbst. Adam is a designer, writer, and storyteller from Brooklyn, New York. He's been mugged 15 times, was attacked by a tiger that his mother was taking care of, and once meandered into a foreign war because he was not paying attention. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have an intellectual titan among us. Pay some attention during this next set. He may confer some common sense on you. He is clearly not keeping any of it for himself.
Yeah!
Adam, come on up here.
Thank you. Let's give it up for Young Ethels and this. I love this show so much.
Director George is after.
Thank you for inviting me so much. It's great to be back here. Yeah, I would love to get parties off the ground. We've been talking about this for like 25 years. And so I was recently talking to a friend of mine, my friend Jen. As a journalist, she writes books about television. Like she wrote the Seinfeld book and the Sex and the City book. The one she's writing now is about Parks and Rec. So she's interviewing Rob Lowe and Amy Poehler, all these people. And I was chatting with her the other day, and I was like, my friend Pete and I had the idea for that show. That was ours. I was like, ours was darker, a lot edgier. But I like what they did with it. She was not impressed. But anyway, as Pete told you, I do have a story about the Parks Department, about Rockville Center. So yeah, I'll get into it. So I'm 17 years old. I'm in Rockville Center. I'm sitting in Mrs. Buchanan's civics class. Did anyone here have Mrs. Buchanan Pete, perhaps? The civics class at Southside High School?
Yeah.
Probably not, because I just made up the name because I don't remember what her name was. Although she does exist. And I was excited because this was the day we were going to register to vote. I was like a pretty active, politically active young kid, so I was excited to vote. So she's handing out the stuff, telling us how to fill it out. She explains what a primary party is. I already knew, politically engaged, right? And she said she recommended that we register with the primary parties so we could vote in the primaries. Democrat, Republican. That was fine. I was already prepared. But what she said next surprised me. She said, and I highly recommend that all of you register as Republicans. Now, you wouldn't know it to look at me now, but I was like a pretty fucking punk kid. Like my favorite band was like the Dead Milkmen. I was making my own clothes. I was going to act up protests and shit. I most certainly was not going to register. Yeah, silence equals death. I was certainly not going to register as a fucking Republican until she told us why. You see, on Long Island, the Parks Department is run by entirely, it's a Republican machine. And if we wanted one of those cushy ass beach jobs where you just sit around all day trying to pick up girls, then we had to register as a Republican or we wouldn't get it. Which is how, 1 year later, driving to my cushy ass beach job, blasting the Dead Milkmen as the first fucking Rockville Center punk rock Republican, reporting for duty. So I show up for my first day, and I didn't know what to expect. The first person I met was this guy, Jimmy. Jimmy was about 1,000 years old, and as near as I could tell, his job was just to wander around setting random fires. So I brought this up to my boss. I was like, what's up with Jimmy? He was like, oh yeah, Jimmy's been here a while, if you see a fire, just put it out. And that's when I realized, I was like, oh, this is one of those jobs. I'm Republican. They can't get rid of me. I was like, I'm gonna do great here. However, I didn't, because while it said Republican on my voter registration, that was a lie. I was a fucking little anarchist. And I wasn't like one of those quiet anarchists that just read books. I made it everyone else's problem. You didn't meet me without hearing an earful about veganism and, fucking bullshit like that. Yeah. So I was there for about a week, and then my boss Jack brings me into his office. He goes, Adam, sit down. I got a proposition for you. Like, what's up, Jack? He goes, how would you like to work alone for the rest of the summer? I'm like, why? What's going on? And he goes, I think we got the perfect job for you. You're gonna drive around Long Island, putting on puppet shows for all the little kids. And the most important part is you're gonna be by yourself. Now, I realized what was happening because I had met everybody and I also knew who I was. I could hear myself. I knew what they were saying is that nobody liked me. And they wanted me to go away. But what I heard,
You got a fan club.
was showbiz. Kid, we think you got it. So I was like, sign me up. He goes, great. Let me show you the puppet bus. So he takes me outside and there's this giant commercial vehicle filled with puppets. It's got a trailer in it. He goes, let's see if you can drive this thing. I was in no way licensed to drive this thing, but you know what? I was a Republican, so it didn't matter. I hopped on and he goes, drive forward 10 feet. Perfect, aced it. He goes, drive backwards 10 feet. Jackknifed it immediately. He goes, you'll figure it out. Let's get you out of here. So the next day I show up and I meet the puppeteer. It was the only other person I would be working with. It changed out every week. New puppeteer, new puppets. I drive the puppet bus, set up the sound. They follow me, you know, because they're from all over the country. They don't know where they're going. They follow me, do the puppets, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So I hop in the bus, off we go. Now, I don't know if you remember this, like, you know, I'm showing my age here a little bit, but there was, like, you remember when there were, like, people in toll booths, right? Yeah. And now we have Easy Pay, but there was this liminal period that was, like, a robotic toll booth operator. It was just like a basket, and you would roll up and just throw change into the basket, and it would count it, and then the thing would go up. So, getting off of the beach, like to get to the parks, I naturally just wanted to take the parkway, which I wasn't allowed to do driving this commercial vehicle, but I had no idea because again I wasn't licensed. They hadn't even given me a manual. And usually go through the toll booths. I could drive around there, work for the town. I didn't know about that because again, no one had trained me. So, and I went up to one of these robotic toll booths, realized I didn't have any money. The puppet lady behind me boxed me in, and I was like, well, what do I do? I was like, you know what I'll do? I'll just get out. I'll ask her to back up, and then we can drive around or something. I didn't have like 20 cents to rub together. And as I get out and I'm walking to her car, I see her gesticulating wildly that I should look behind me. And I look, and what I see is that I had forgotten to put the puppet bus into park. And as I watched in horror, it started trundling towards the arm of the toll booth, running into it, catching it in its grill, breaking it off, and then slowly rolling down the gangway to merge with the Southern State Parkway. I don't know if anyone here has destroyed a toll booth before. Here's something I learned. If you destroy a toll booth, an alarm goes off. It sounds like an air raid siren. Like, whoop! And so everyone's like, concerned. They stop, they're getting out of their cars to look, and what they see is this 115-pound vegan with ill-advised dreadlocks sprinting down the gangway after an out-of-control puppet bus, screaming, "No, Jesus Christ, it's my first day." Yeah, so I couldn't run. I couldn't run, yeah, even more so. To date, this is the most athletic thing I've ever fucking done. I reached this thing, Indiana Jones my way into it, made sure it was parked, set the parking brake, walked back to the toll booths, and I sat down and I began to cry. Because while I didn't particularly like this job, and I wasn't particularly good at this job, I did really need this job, and I knew I was about to be fired. So there was one guy working with the toll booths that day, and I saw him come out, and he was furious. He had the pieces of the broken toll booth in his hands, and he looked at me, and I could see he was getting ready to just really tear into me, until he saw my blue Parkfield Worker t-shirt, and he threw down the pieces, and he goes, "You work for the Parks Department?" And I'm crying, and I say, "Yeah." He goes, "You guys have to stop doing this." Do you know how expensive these things are? And I was like, no, it's my first day. I don't know anything. He goes, get the fuck out of here. So I got up, I get in the thing, and I go to the park. Like I'm still starting my day, and I'm happily setting everything up. To this day, not only did I not get fired, no one even called my fucking boss. Unbelievable. So I'm setting up this thing, and the puppet lady has still been following me this whole time. So she walks up to me and she says, listen, I saw what happened back there, and I was like, yeah, pretty crazy, right? I gotta tell you, this is my first day, but that worked out pretty well. Get it? No tolls. We're gonna be doing that all week. And she gave me this look, like I saw like her vision, sort of like her eyes unfocused for a moment. And I recognized this look. This was the same look that I gave Jimmy the very first day when I started. It's the look where you realize that the one coworker you have is quite possibly incredibly deranged. So it's been like 30 years since I had that job in 1993 or something. And I've had a lot of jobs. Some of them I'm good at, like the one with Jill. Some I'm not so good at. But one thing that I learned from this job that has really held true is that in life, in general, it is better to be well-connected than talented. Thank you so much.
Give it up for Adam Selbst, everybody.